There's a moment almost every PC user faces at some point. A moment when you press the power button on an old machine and instead of feeling productive, you feel frustration creeping in. The boot takes forever, apps crawl, browsers freeze, and suddenly, what once felt fast now feels completely unusable. Most people assume that's the end of the road for that computer, that it's time to throw it away or spend money on a new one. But what if I told you that your old PC isn't actually slow? It's just running the wrong software. And with the right choice, you can bring it back to life in a way that feels almost unbelievable. This is where lightweight Linux distributions come in, and not in a theoretical way, but in a very real, practical sense that can turn a decade-old system into something fast, responsive, and actually enjoyable to use again. The difference is not small either. It's the kind of transformation that makes you question why you ever thought the hardware was the problem in the first place. The truth is, modern operating systems have become heavier over time, filled with background services, telemetry, animations, and features that most users never asked for. On older hardware, all of that becomes a burden, and that's exactly why lightweight Linux distros exist, to strip away everything unnecessary and give your hardware room to breathe again. Imagine turning on a 2GB RAM laptop that used to struggle just opening a browser, and suddenly it boots in seconds, opens apps instantly, and lets you browse smoothly without freezing. That's not magic. It's just efficiency. And today, we're diving deep into 5 lightweight Linux distros that can revive your old PC. Not just in theory, but in a way that genuinely feels like you upgraded your machine without spending a single dollar. The first distro that truly deserves attention is one that has built a reputation for being extremely lightweight, while still being surprisingly user-friendly. This is the kind of system that doesn't try to overwhelm you with complexity, but instead focuses on doing the basics incredibly well. When you install it, the first thing you'll notice is how quickly everything responds. The desktop environment is minimal, but not in a boring way. It's clean, efficient, and designed to use as little memory as possible. Even on systems with very limited RAM, it manages to stay smooth, and that's what makes it so powerful. It doesn't try to imitate heavier operating systems. It embraces its simplicity, and that's exactly why it works so well on older machines. One of the biggest surprises with this distro is how capable it actually is despite its lightweight nature. You can still browse the web, watch videos, edit documents, and even do light development work without any major issues. And because it's based on a stable foundation, you're not constantly dealing with crashes or bugs. It just works. And sometimes that's all you really need. It's a perfect starting point for anyone who wants to revive an old PC without diving too deep into technical complexity. Moving on to the second distro. This one takes a slightly different approach. Instead of just being lightweight, it focuses on being extremely fast and flexible. It's designed for users who want performance above all else, and it delivers that in a way that feels almost unreal on older hardware. The interface might feel a bit different at first, especially if you're coming from a more traditional operating system. But once you get used to it, you'll realize just how efficient it is. Every part of the system is optimized for speed, from the way applications launch to how memory is managed in the background. What makes this distro particularly interesting is how customizable it is. You're not locked into a specific workflow or layout. You can tweak almost everything to suit your needs. And because it's so lightweight, even with customization, it remains incredibly fast. It's the kind of system that rewards exploration. And if you're willing to spend a little time learning it, you'll end up with a setup that feels perfectly tailored to your workflow. For older PCs, this level of efficiency can make a huge difference, turning a sluggish experience into something that feels almost modern. The third distro on this list is one that balances lightweight performance with a more familiar user experience. This is especially important for people who are switching from other operating systems and don't want to feel lost. The interface is intuitive, the layout makes sense, and everything is designed to be accessible even for beginners. But underneath that simplicity is a system that's incredibly optimized for low-resource hardware. It doesn't waste memory on unnecessary effects or services, and that's what allows it to run smoothly even on older machines. What really stands out about this distro is how polished it feels despite being lightweight. It doesn't feel like a compromise. It feels like a complete operating system that just happens to be efficient. You get access to a wide range of applications, a stable update system, and a community that actively supports new users. This combination makes it one of the best choices for anyone who wants to revive an old PC without dealing with a steep learning curve. It's simple, reliable, and surprisingly powerful, given how little it demands from your hardware. Now, the fourth distro takes things even further in terms of minimalism. This is where we enter the territory of extremely lightweight systems that are designed for the lowest end hardware you can imagine. We're talking about machines with very limited RAM and older processors that struggle with almost anything modern. And yet, this distro manages to run on them in a way that feels responsive and usable. It's not flashy, it doesn't try to impress you with visuals, but what it does offer is raw efficiency. Using this, distro feels different because it strips computing down to its essence. You focus on what you actually need to do rather than being distracted by unnecessary features. And while it might require a bit more effort to set up compared to other options, the payoff is huge. You get a system that can run on hardware that most people would consider completely obsolete. It's a reminder that performance isn't just about hardware. It's about how software is designed to use that hardware. Finally, the fifth distro on this list is one that brings everything together. It's lightweight, fast, user-friendly, and incredibly versatile. It manages to strike a balance between performance and usability in a way that makes it suitable for a wide range of users. Whether you're a beginner looking to revive an old laptop or someone more experienced who wants a fast and efficient system, this distro delivers on all fronts. The desktop environment is clean and responsive. The resource usage is low, and the overall experience feels smooth and consistent. What makes this distro particularly special is how well it adapts to different hardware configurations. It doesn't matter if you're running it on a slightly older system or something really outdated, it scales in a way that maintains performance. And because it's built on a solid foundation, you get stability and access to a large ecosystem of software. This means you're not sacrificing functionality for performance. You're getting both at the same time. At this point, you might be wondering if switching to a lightweight Linux distro is actually worth the effort. And the answer is simple. If you have an old PC that feels slow and unusable, this is one of the best things you can do. The difference is not just about speed. It's about usability, responsiveness, and the overall experience of using your computer. Instead of dealing with constant frustration, you get a system that feels fast, reliable, and actually enjoyable to use. There's also something incredibly satisfying about giving new life to old hardware. In a world where technology is constantly being replaced, it feels almost rebellious to take an old machine and make it useful again. You're not just saving money, you're reducing waste and making the most of what you already have. And with lightweight Linux distros, this isn't difficult to achieve. It's surprisingly accessible, even for beginners. Another important aspect to consider is security and updates. Many older systems are stuck running outdated software that no longer receives support, which can be a serious risk. By switching to a modern lightweight Linux distro, you're not only improving performance, but also ensuring that your system stays secure and up to date. This is something that often gets overlooked, but it's a huge benefit that comes with making the switch. Of course, there might be a learning curve, especially if you've never used Linux before. But the good news is that many of these distros are designed with beginners in mind. They offer simple installation processes, intuitive interfaces, and plenty of documentation to help you get started. And once you get past that initial adjustment period, you'll likely find that the experience is not only manageable, but actually enjoyable. In the end, reviving your old PC is not about pushing hardware beyond its limits. It's about choosing software that respects those limits and works within them efficiently. Lightweight Linux distros do exactly that, and that's why they're so powerful. They don't try to be everything for everyone. They focus on doing the essentials well, and that's what makes them perfect for older systems. So, before you decide to throw away that old laptop or desktop, take a moment to consider what it's actually capable of with the right software. You might be surprised at just how much life is still left in it. And once you experience the difference for yourself, you'll realize that sometimes the best upgrade isn't new hardware. It's a smarter, lighter, and more efficient operating system that lets your existing hardware shine again.